and welcome to the second edition of Randall Reads. Tonight I'd like to talk about a curious little book called The Moustache by Emmanuel Carrere. The star of this particular book is actually the moustache itself, to a certain extent, because as the story progresses, the reader is never really sure if the moustache ever existed or not. To explain, the opening scene, a husband and wife are preparing to go out for a meal at a friend's apartment. In the bathroom, the husband is pondering whether or not to shave off his moustache. He thinks it will be the greatest joke ever. His wife's never seen him without a moustache, his friends will be bowled over, and it'll just be a really funny way to start the evening. The only problem is his wife doesn't notice. In the car on the way over there, he makes all sorts of facial hair related jokes, but she just doesn't blink. She doesn't make one word of acknowledgement that he no longer has a moustache. The same thing happens when they're having the meal at the friend's apartment. They're laughing, drinking, eating, but nobody mentions that he hasn't got a moustache anymore. It's only in the car on the way home that he broaches the subject direct with his wife, and she turns around and looks at him completely aghast and says, "What are you talking about? You never had a moustache." And it's at this point of the story that started off as quite light-hearted and fun, turns very dark very quickly. It's like a journey into mental illness, paranoia, trust in relationships, and it gets completely out of hand. And I think this is what I really love about books like this, is that the writer gives the reader this really weird, absurdist sort of scenario, and then they write it through to the end. Obviously not always to a logical conclusion, because it's illogical in the first place. You can see this in a lot of books throughout history, books that I particularly love. Stories like The Nose by Nikolai Gogol, where a butcher wakes up and finds a nose in his breakfast, or Gregor Samsa in Kafka's Metamorphosis. How the family even accept that their son has woken up and been turned into a massive bug. So this is my second recommendation. It's The Moustache by Emmanuel Carrere. It's a very short novel, but it's a very strange novel, and it will stay with you long after the reading. So yeah, that's my recommendation. Thank you for listening. Good evening.